Hello and welcome from Skid Row's Racing. Today on Van Vlog, we're going to get you up to speed on the van. It's been through a few ups and downs lately. Leaf spring problems as seen in the last video. That has been resolved. Maybe cut to some footage of that. New leaf springs. So they make them with like where you can get an extra leaf in the pack than what these are, with the same weight capacity. But I stuck with this option because this is what the thing has, and I don't want it to sit differently or anything like that. So I just want it to be how it's supposed to be. And later on, if I make it four-wheel drive or put some kind of better whoop scissor setup in the front or something, then maybe I'll worry about it more then. But either way, stock stuff's probably not going to cut it. So see what we can do with these suckers. All right, so here we go. We got one out. Wanted to point out where the old spring was rubbing there with the old bushing, because it was doinkered that way if you remember correctly. And yeah, that's all going all right. Here's the new spring and everything looks okay. Get to utilize the nice poly bushings there, but nowhere else, because these have a warranty, so I decided to leave what they have in there. This one weirdly has a metal sleeve bushing where the factory one did not up there, but it did back there. I don't know. These I'm gonna get out of there. You can just kind of gently tap the sleeve out and pop the bushing out from each side, you know, in case they only go in partially. So I'm gonna keep those around. And these, I'll hang on to them for a little bit before I probably throw them away. Notice I put the shackle on there first, because that's going to be a whole lot easier to deal with. The bolt has to go this way because of clearance with there, so kept it that way obviously. And okay, we're on the home stretch, so got everything back together. If you would like more information about how I like to switch out leaf springs, feel free to comment about it. I can show that next time I end up doing it, because I've done it a lot in my day. And in the last video, you see I took this bushings out of the old ones on the vehicle. I wouldn't do that again. It's actually not a big deal to take these off. It would have saved some work. So do that unless there's no other option. I was trying not to disrupt the U-bolts on the old springs, but because of how crooked everything was, I actually had to loosen the U-bolts to get everything to want to bolt back in. So didn't matter. So lastly here, I have this slightly off the jack stand, so it's actually holding its own weight, but I don't have these tight yet. That's on purpose because I want to have these tight with the weight of the vehicle on, because this style bushing, the rubber has to twist when it works, unlike this style where this metal will just kind of rotate in there with the little looby bits. So, and I didn't cover this several videos ago. I installed new headlights that were like the LEDs with little dots. Now we have ones that have a regular style bulb back there. I could put, it has LEDs in it now, but I could put a regular halogen in there. And they still have a glass lens. They look factory. They don't shine the best, but they shine better than a factory thing, better than steel beam. Another thing we can get into is the window coverings on the inside have been upgraded. It used to just be some curtains hanging around. It's a little dirty in here because we just came back from a drift event. This is actually some of the old curtains. We just kind of shove them wherever, but I'm probably going to use those. So these window coverings, my wife found like a freaking, oh, gotta wash that. She found a, like a reel or something where somebody did this. We couldn't figure out quite how to do this, so these are just some magnets that kind of hold as extras. These are actually held in with suction cups. This is at like, so it's not held in very well right now. So it's just like garage door insulation cut to size with suction cups. Downside is these suction cups, they've only been in there for a couple months. They're getting kind of weathered. But it is so far the best solution we found. Yeah, they're just some cheapo Amazons. They have like a little screw thing. And so when you put them up, you kind of just put those all in place, poke the thing through, screw it, and you're done. But yeah, I'm gonna try to like glue some fabric to them, because if you look on the outside, you'll see that it kind of looks like we're trying to grow weed in here or something, and we don't do that in this van. So, you know, want to keep it classy. So I also didn't clean the glass before I stuck these to it. That's part of it. But yeah, maybe get some glass cleaner or water on the suction cups. They'd hold better. And I have extras, so maybe it'll be like every few months I have to change them, but whatever. They kind of work. And then these magnets just kind of sit like that and kind of help hold it in. I might make some kind of little strips that kind of retain them in there so it is less reliant on the suction cups. But again, best thing we did so far. I mean, like those ones are all on there. These back ones are kind of a rough cut. They were originally Velcro, but that was failing. Another thing, bed's holding up pretty well. There's a couple things with the screws that aren't the best. I shouldn't have made this side out of this flooring material. I should have just made it out of like more 2x4s and made it a little different because there's not much for it to bite in there. So that's kind of my main design flaw. Also, I should probably like wax it up so it folds in and out easier. But it's working really well, holding up really well. Most comfortable camping sleep I've ever gotten. We still have to decide what to do with the walls, but what we do want to do up here, this is a bin full of some bedding and stuff, and what we want to do is build like a cabinet that sits here and have like a series of bins that act as drawers, and there'll be like a tabletop with a slight little recession in it, or maybe something protruding up so stuff doesn't come off when you're turning and driving and stuff. So yeah, that is going to be another video to replace this. Oh, and then you can see this still all works. So the nice thing, I don't really have any footage of driving with it, but this thing used to kind of sway in the back side to side, not like this, but like this. And the leaf spring bushings and or that broken leaf in the pack seem to have been causing it, because it's just like straight as an arrow. Another thing I did to make it tow better is the hitch has been reinforced. I added some gussets on the corners, and then it also integrates to the ball mount of the factory bumper. So it just made that all stronger, and so now that has less give. So I actually towed with it like that with the messed up leaf springs, towed better. Now with the new leaf springs, tows better than ever. Okay. So in looking at this, we kind of tripped over this again. This is a big problem. The previous owner of this van put this floor in, and you can see they kind of did whatever. I threw these screws in there so dust and water and stuff wouldn't come in. I should probably like glue them down or something, because I'm not going to use those holes. So the other thing is, how is there this gap, you ask? Well, it's because they put a piece of wood here, which I just today discovered. So I'm going to take that piece of wood out. I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to find some kind of metal, aluminum or something. I might have to make it overlap a little more, and I'm going to possibly have to weld this whole stretch, and then I'm going to like rivet it to the plastic that remains. And this is going to be down where it belongs, and it's going to overlap and screw into here with like nice snug screws, maybe countersunk, whatever, and then so we won't die getting in and out of this. It'll have a nice finished look. So that's more important than anything else I was going to do on this. So that's the priority today. I don't even know if these screws are factory or not. They kind of look like they could be. Alright, what kind of hack work we got here? I mean, I see where they were coming from. So I'm going to go get a number 3 Phillips. Yeah, I see where they're coming from. So the other thing is, the way they screwed everything in. Oh, you can see my. I went underneath and I tried to like flex seal the holes because I was worried about water coming in. Because the whole floor in this van is put in this way, unfortunately. I don't know what they were thinking. So hey, we got a nice piece of plywood. Looks surprisingly not rotten. Those holes do in fact go down to the ground. This is actually a better spot for that to be that way than anywhere else, because it looks like those are probably not watertight anyway. But yeah, that's annoying. So let's see what we got going here. Alright, so I'm going to cut that thing now and just see if I can get it to fit in there, because what they did was this wood like overlaps, so I'm probably going to have to jigsaw this out of the way because they didn't fit it so great. But first I'm just going to cut this upper lip that's breaking off anyway off. I may use it as a template later, so I'm going to try to be systematic about it. And then we're going to get that thing down where it belongs, trim whatever we have to here. We're going to find some random metal in the garage, and we're going to make what we need. I rescued some piece of angled material from the garbage, and I have fashioned it into what I need. So anyhow, I did not film any of the making of this, but just a piece of angle of sorts. And I made the radius matched to the van radius thing. And at first I was able to heat with my propane torch because I don't have a real torch, and sort of start bending this. Then it wanted to bend more of it, and then I had to make little angular or relief cuts. And then there's a piece of flat metal cut with a template and then welded in, and good enough for something we're going to step on. I'm going to give it like a 8 out of 10, 7 out of, yeah, probably 7 out of 10. But I don't want to put any more effort into it than that. So yeah, I just followed the thing that was going to make us fall and break our necks. It's kind of like a guideline. Thing kind of fits. Drilled and countersunk some holes. And now we're going to go over the last step I'm going to do to it before installing it, then installing it. So as you can imagine, that's probably going to be super slick getting in and out of the van, and it'll still cause us to fall and hurt ourselves. So there's a solution. A good buddy of mine used skateboard grip tape on his rock sliders on his Jeep pickup many years ago, and it worked so well that I remembered that, and we got some pretty neatly patterned material of such, and it's checkers because we're winners, and that will help us from falling and hurting our melons. So here's how this thing fits in here. Just like that. And I'll show soon that the little sidey slot piece thingy makes it so it fits up there. So I'm going to go ahead and hold it tight in here and make my marks for where I'm going to pre-drill. And my drill bit has a stopper on it with a little doohickey, and got some screws I rescued from being thrown away. Perfect for the project. And the holes are so far back in the piece because of how this was done. Again, as stated earlier, this floor was in the vehicle when we bought it, so working with what we got. You know, so much for that idea. Luckily, well, unfortunately, I couldn't find an Allen key in my collection that quite fit that right, and I think that's a lot of why it backed off, and it is a little big for this drill bit. My next size down is too small, but the wood has a small gap, probably because of the ribs in the floor. So you can just feel once it goes past the wood, you just stop. So then I don't go through the metal. All right, there's where it slots up. When I made this, that notch was actually already in the material, and I should have cut that off and started further back, but I didn't. So feels pretty solid. One more van problem solved.